Often here at Jubilee, our artists team up, and this is one of those moments. Majo and Jenna have put together a dance and poetry piece, and just from having seen and experienced it, all I can say is buckle your seatbelts, brace yourselves. Majo, Jenna.
This is my body. My body is so funky. It has a mind all of its own. My energy moves powerfully up and down so predictably. 7 days up, 10 days down like clockwork. It doesn't seem fair. Why not 7 and 7 at least? It hadn't always been like this. Until my early 40s, I always ran slightly high. Energetic, a go-getter, an overachiever, enthusiastic, people called me. The occasional person told me I was too intense. Occasional enough that I could dismiss the charge, though there was an important kernel of truth in it. In my early 40s, a constellation of circumstances conspired to pull the plug on my headlong momentum, and I crashed. Then in my vulnerable state, I didn't have the same kind of defenses against dangerous internal material, and my sex abuse memories came back, and I fell apart more completely. A few years later, I was in psychotherapy with Dan O'Grady, a psychologist who specialized in treating men with a history of sex abuse. He said to me, "You do such great work in therapy. You break through walls heroically, but you always end up flat on the floor. I think you have clinical depression." Yes, I know you're going to say that you don't believe in biochemical depression. We were trained as psychologists in the same era. I thought that too. All I can say is that when men like you get on antidepressants, they tend to get better. I saw Dan's psychiatric associate. I made a deal with the devil. I was so desperate for anything to make me feel better that I swallowed her toxic label of clinical depression in order to get her drugs. I got on Zoloft and got better. Oh, my sexuality went totally away. That was hard on me and my girlfriend, but I was desperate. It felt like an acceptable price. A couple of years later, an antidepressant spiked a mania in me, and I got diagnosed bipolar. And so it has been for the last 13 years, always taking some kind or another potent cocktail of meds, frequently visiting a seriously suicidal state, frequently being hospitalized for my own protection, much less often but occasionally getting way too high for my own good. So having just made the case to you for how I am bipolar, I now say to you that I have become convinced that I am not bipolar. But did I not stand in front of you 5 years ago after my abortive move to Mexico and ask for your blessing for my depression, for my mental illness? I had made a deal with the devil. I had accepted their soul-killing diagnoses and body-wasting drugs out of the desperate hope that they might have some way to soften my ruinous pain. But I'll say it again, I am not bipolar. Bipolar disorder is a metaphor made up by the doctors who have no more idea than you and I what is going on in this state. It assumes that all of us who show these patterns are essentially the same, when we are actually exquisitely unique. The behaviors I show when I am cycling high, expanded is my favorite label for it, are usually actually my best self, enthusiastic again, engaging, warm, loving, productive, creative. My low cycle can still be excruciatingly painful, but I am learning better how to deal with it. So once again, I ask for your blessing, for me to fully wake up from the hypnosis of psychiatric name-calling. In many Aboriginal cultures, what comes through me when I am up would be called shamanism. Send me love for my down cycles when I need it most. Bless the wide circle of friends that I have recruited to support me as I go through this metamorphosis. Oh, and some of you are already asking, what about the meds? They are going away very gradually. I can't assert that I do not have a mental illness while I am medicating my maybe very healthy cycles. Hazardous, yes, even stretched out over a full year. Some of the bad old days were very bad, but not as destructive as calling myself psychiatric names. So picture my body recovering from a 15-year onslaught of powerful drugs. Picture my dreams returning. Picture my sexuality returning. Okay, you don't have to picture that. Picture me back among you, more fully me than ever. Oh, and if you feel so moved, give me a hug.
You're not going to hear that in your average church. I'm just saying. Thank you, Majo. Thank you, Jenna, for that one.